I've got Colby Marshall here. We're about to deep dive into Barrie and Orillia.
You're seeing a larger list to sell price ratio on there. But I think this is going to be the last month that we'll see something like that.
When you're looking at that list price, it might be scary to think, oh, this property's listed here at $925 or $950. But in reality, you were able to actually make an offer and successfully purchase somewhere around that $820 mark. You can always make offers. Action is always going to be the way to get more results. And so taking action in this context looks like making offers on that inventory that was sitting.
In spring, I guarantee it's going to be a hot spring. Everything is going the right way for a hot buyer's market. The affordability by the time this year ends is going to be substantially different from what it is now.
We're going to be talking about different things in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. It's going to be so different. And we're going to be looking back at these stats. And this is what I was saying. You guys should have been making offers because this is about to get really wild. Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam JD Martin, your host, and today I've got Colby Marshall here. We're about to deep dive into Barrie and Orillia. Colby, what's been going on, man?
Hey, it's great to be back. Things are really heating up for the fall market, and we're going to dive into some great information here. It's a quick little bit about us. We are the Colby Marshall Real Estate team, so we have a whole real estate arm for acquisition. We also help with the design process. We have the whole building company, Tarion registered under MCIS. Marshall's Complete Investment Solutions. We are a complete turnkey system, everything from acquisition, design to build. And of course, we are part of eXp Realty Brokerage. Any questions at all about anything you hear today, please reach out to us. The agenda for today is we're going to go over some stats for Barrie and Orillia, some live opportunities that we're targeting, getting into the multifamily space and the conversions. We're going to briefly touch on mortgage rules changing as well. And what everyone should know about is the Ontario Building Code update. We're going to briefly touch on that, what's coming down the tubes, because they are changing at the beginning of January. So this could affect the project and the properties you're buying today. So definitely stay tuned until the end to get all that information as well. We service Simcoe County, primarily Barrie, Orillia, Wasaga Beach, but this is the whole area that we service. Let's get into the stats for the Barrie market. So the number of active detached listings in Barrie have slightly went up from August. Disregard the October one. There's only been one day there now. So September, we've seen an increase of the number of active listings. This is pretty well normal for the fall market. Anything after the long weekend, we've seen a huge uptick on. Average sale price, detached homes in Barrie, we've seen a slight decrease in that number, which is a little weird to see with the amount of people that are flying back into the market after the long weekend in September. We've had our phones ringing off the hook, so it is pretty interesting to see that. The average list price versus sold price. So you can see that in the blue there is the list price for Barrie, and the green is the sale price. You're seeing quite a bit of a spread on there. I think that's cleaning up a lot of the older inventory that has been sitting on the market for quite some time. You're seeing a larger list to sell price ratio on there. But I think this is going to be the last month that we'll see something like that. I think those bars are going to start to tighten up with the amount of people coming in. And I think going into the winter, a lot of the inventory is going to dry up and prices are going to start to increase substantially. And things will be getting crazy into the spring market with the new mortgage rules that we'll touch on later in this video.
Yeah, it's really great you bring this up. And we've been talking for months now on our market updates, whether it's Barrie or Hamilton or Niagara region. You don't always trust the list price, right? And we can see that right here in the data, right? And this is why we bring on experts like Colby to show you the data and talk through this, because when you're looking at that list price, it might be scary to think, oh, this property's listed here at whatever, $925 or $950, whatever that figure is there in the blue. But in reality, you were able to actually make an offer and successfully purchase somewhere around that $820 mark. You can always make offers, and that's a big theme on this channel. Is action is always going to be the way to get more results. And so taking action in this context looks like making offers on that inventory that was sitting. And to Colby's point, now that we're going into the fall, now that the market's shifting again, you're going to see that gap narrow. right? And you're going to see that list price get closer to the sale price. And you know, that just means the rules are changing for depending on where you're sitting, right? In the past, if you're looking at that big spread, it might be great to be a buyer. And coming into this fall market, it's going to look a bit better to be a seller. Doesn't mean there's going to be no good buying deals. There's going to be lots of great deals out there to buy, but it's going to start changing landscape here as the mortgage rules come into effect, as the rates come down, and as that inventory just kind of disappears. So great stats here to show us, Colby.
Yeah, the window of opportunity is closing very quickly. I
Yeah.
think the best time is going to be to buy between now and the end of the year. Spring, things are just going to take off. So if you're looking for a project, now is the time to jump in for sure. Let's touch on what's going on in the town of Orillia, about 20 minutes north of Barrie. So number of active listings, they actually slightly decreased in Orillia. So usually we like to see a bit more action going on in the fall market, but there's substantially less people out that way. So, you know, it's further north you go, the slower it gets, the faster. So you can already see that inventory starting to decrease, but there's still a lot of deals being done. So, you know, prices could change substantially much quicker. As you can see here, the average sale price in Orillia has substantially went up already. And I'm guessing that's because due to the decrease in inventory on the previous slide. The list to sale price on detached homes in Orillia, huge spread there. I think that's even bigger than what we've seen in the Barrie area. And again, I think this is flushing out a lot of the old inventory that's been sitting for, you know, 2, 3, 6 months. That's been overpriced. People are lowballing, shooting their shot, getting really good deals. And there's a lot of that stuff being bought up right now, of the stuff that's been sitting. So there is opportunity here still. But I think if you don't get into something before the spring market, you're going to miss the boat, because I think it's just going to go nuts in the spring.
But again, this is what we were seeing in the comments, Colby. Like, we've been seeing in the comments people saying there's no deals. There's no deals. The prices are crazy. The list prices were crazy. You can see there, that looks to me about a $200,000 spread, right? That looks like about $750 actual sale price to a list price of about, I'd say $950, right? So that's roughly a $200,000 spread from list to sale price there, where you could have been taking action. So I just want to bring that to the attention of people watching at home. Like, when we see this seasonality impact what's sitting on the market, we see other external factors like rates and you know, employment situations, like things that do affect the market for sure. You just have to remember, keep making offers, because like that $200,000 gap makes the difference in everything. There's no way, like, some people with a $750,000 affordability, we're out hunting the 950 deals. But sometimes you got to think like that. You got to find the right asset and make the offer that's right for you. And it looks like that's what some people were doing.
Yeah, you're trying to find people that are in a bit of a desperate spot, right? That's when you're going to be able to get those reductions. But also, you need to know your market. Some sellers, they know they had the pie in the sky number of COVID pricing, and you know, you have to bring them down, bring them back to reality. So that's a lot of that spread is in that as well. People pricing high, not up on the market conditions, hoping for the best, and then they're obviously taking the hit on the back end for sure. So what are the opportunities going on in Simcoe County? We want to touch on a couple active deals. This is still up for sale. We had this on last month. It's one of the ones that's sitting. It's at $779,900. Very similar to some of the projects that we have on the go. This would be a fourplex conversion, 3,000 square feet over 3 floors, including the basement, plus the garage of 430 square feet. The unit mix you'd be creating would be 2 3-bedrooms, 1 2-bedroom, and 1 1-bedroom. Great fourplex in a great area. The renovation cost is about $415,000. You have to service it with your water and sewer. We talked about that last month, how much the cost that is. You also have your double dip DC that we also talked about last month. If you want more information, check that video out. You know, your after repair value is almost $1.5 million. Total rent will be about $9,000 per month. But I do want to let people know that these are some big, daunting numbers. But with our construction financing company that we like to utilize, you can get into a project for something as little as about $250,000 would be your minimum capital requirement to get into a project like this. So this covers your down payment, your permanent acquisition, and then the bank takes over from there. So you're using the bank's money. So you don't have to come up with this almost $600,000 to do this conversion, your capital outlay is only about 250 grand. You know, with the way the prices are right now, this is going to be a steal a deal. By the time we're done, it's going to be this time next year, and I think the market's going to be in a very different place.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. Like, I think the future value of this building looks pretty good.
And then again, this one is still up for sale. I'm going to plug it again one more time. Listed for 800,000, 3,600 square feet, over 2 floors. Your garage is a double car garage. You're going to get 4 3-bedroom units. Renovations $465,000, $50,000 for your servicing. You got your double dip DC at 85,000, ARV at 1.65, total rent 10,000 a month. And again, capital required is only 250 grand. Don't feel like these numbers are very daunting, but you know, 250 is definitely more bite size. If this is in your wheelhouse, come reach out. This is in one of the best areas in Barrie, and it's a pretty well a walkout basement, so you can get 4 premium units, top rents, not a lot of rentals in its areas because the prices have never been this low. It's crazy. This is a great deal, and any interest in our area, come check it out. And construction financing, I know we talked about this a little bit on the last one. Just want to put this slide in again. We have construction financiers that will lend on the future value of these properties. So again, you don't need that whole construction budget. You can get in for a fraction of the cost. So not only are you leveraging your down payment on acquiring the property, you're also going to leverage it again against the financing side of it. So you're get, you know, twice as much return on your investment for leveraging the same capital, and you can use the bank's money to build your opportunity. That's how a lot of the big players are doing it. So definitely plug into our system. We can guide you every step of the way from acquisition, design, and the construction side as well. All right, I want to touch on mortgage rules. Why do I think the market is going to go nuts? In spring, I guarantee it's going to be a hot spring. Amortization for CMHC mortgages will be kicked out from 25 to 35-year amortizations. So this is coming into effect end of December. This is going to create more affordability because the payments will be less due to the amount of years being longer. So this will push more buyers into the buying market. Again, CMHC is going to also increase the maximum loan amount from $1 million to $1.5 million. So a lot of the people selling their semis in the GTA, the Toronto area, they're going to be able to now sell that to a first-time home buyer that's in that space for a bucket full of money up to $1.5 million. And then they're going to come north like they always do, and they'll be looking in the Barrie area. So this will also increase the amount of buyers going into the buyer pool. And this comes into effect December 31st.
Wow.
The removal of the stress test. This is coming in November 23rd, I believe it was. This is going to also add substantial affordability to buyers because they don't have to qualify at the higher rate, which I believe was 2% over the current bank rate.
Yeah.
This is going to push a lot of buyers into the affordability market. These are 3 major indicators of people getting pushed into the market, being back to be able to afford things, in addition to the interest rates declining at a very fast rate. This US just dropped their interest rates by half a point in September, and I think that we are slated to do the same in September. Everything is going the right way for a hot buyer's market. The affordability by the time this year ends is going to be substantially different from what it is now. We still are in the middle of a housing crisis. In addition to how bad it was before, we've had every builder stop building homes for the last 18 months because interest rates. So the housing shortage has gotten worse, and we're just dumping in a whole new whack of buyers here through all these new CMHC rules, which is going to really help get things going here, and it's going to go 2 to 10 for the spring. I almost guarantee it.
Yeah, this is going to be massive, right? Like that $1 million cap has held so many things back for CMHC. Going to $1.5 million, that's a 50% increase, guys. That's freaking massive. Going to $1.5 million is insane. That changes affordability a lot when you consider those houses that were capped out at $1 million, because that was happening everywhere around Barrie, around Collingwood. I'm sure in Orillia too. Like the $1 million house was everywhere. So now for that to go to 1.5, at the same time you're changing amortization that drastically, all of a sudden your actual payment looks very similar as you go from that $1 million up into that 1.5. And so the affordability totally changes. Not having that stress test completely changes the environment. And that, and again, rates dropping at the same time. Like that's like a quadruple toss of gas onto the fire. So that's going to be really interesting to watch. And I think we're going to have totally different conversations, Colby, you and I. We're going to be talking about different things in the spring.
Oh yeah.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. It's going to be so different. And we're going to be looking back at these stats. And this is what I was saying. You guys should have been making offers because this is about to get really wild when things were sitting. And I know what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to follow us now into the spring and be like, wow, the market's doing incredible. It's time to invest. And you're not wrong. It's always time to invest. But at the same time, guys, man, what an opportunity we just went through to see these stats coming, which we've been predicting, by the way, for a long time. These 4 changes are huge for affordability. Spring's going to be insane.
Yeah, and if you compare it to pre-COVID, I think at pre-COVID we were 4.5% for a mortgage, and then they dropped the rate so fast down to 1.8, something like that. And
I
that
think 1.6 is the lowest I saw.
Yeah, so from say 4.5 to 1.6 very quickly. The same amount of reductions we're seeing now, and that's without all these sweeteners from the CMHC as well. So if you think COVID was bad, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. And I mean, that creates interesting challenges too, right? I think it's worth acknowledging. This could cause interesting challenges in the future. But for the time being, that's a really interesting opportunity for those heading into the spring market. So I'm sure we'll talk about those challenges as we start to see the effects of people spending 1.5 instead of 1, right? People looking forward to those longer amortizations where you're technically getting less principal pay down, but your cash flow is increased if you're investing. So we'll see what happens for the average homeowner as these changes take into effect and what really goes on with price. I think there's going to be some murky water there for a bit. But from an investing perspective, I mean, this type of this, let's just say what it is. I mean, this is just inflation, right? Like this is going to inflate prices massively. And so depending on where you're sitting and what type of capitalization you're looking at doing with this is a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. Anything you can buy with a large lot, land, that land's going to be worth crazy amounts. It's going to go through the roof. All right. Speaking of buying now, let's be thinking ahead for acquisitions. So some people aren't aware of this, but the Ontario Building Code is coming out with a substantial update, which comes into effect at the end of this year. So why are we talking about this now? If you are buying a property today, by the time you get your floor plans and everything all done, I will bet you that you might be falling under the new 2024 building code. So you really need to know what the changes are. Is it going to hinder you from converting that extra unit in the property that you're just buying today? So we definitely want to keep an eye on this. Is your budget going to go up $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 due to these changes? We're going to briefly touch on them today. If you have any further questions, you can definitely reach out. We're still sifting through everything, but we do know of some of the changes. And again, this comes into effect January 1st. It is going to increase costs for the creation of extra suites in homes. They are decreasing minimum ceiling heights, which is great. So, if you had one of those shorter basements, you can now convert that. I think the minimum height was 6'5" opposed to 6'11". So, so if you have one of those basements that just didn't quite make it, we could probably get that converted now. Some of the burn times for your fire separation has increased in some instances and decreased in others. Your egress requirements are changing slightly as well. They're also putting more codes around CO2 alarms, fire alarms, radon check systems as well. One of the biggest things is they're not allowing for cross air for heating and cooling systems. So you will probably 90% chance that you'll have to do a independent heating and cooling system, even if it's just for duplex conversion, second suite conversion, something like that. So that could add substantial cost to your build. So definitely plug into our next couple of videos. We're going to be touching on this a little bit more in depth. It just came out last week. We're starting to sift through it and, work with our professionals, our industry professionals to help us get this information to you guys to help make good decisions. But definitely keep this stuff in mind that we briefly touched on, and we'll get more into it in the next couple of months.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Colby. Thank you. And a lot of these things represent serious changes in cost, right? Like that separate heating and cooling system, that's a big consideration when we're looking at a rehab budget.
And also timing for your building permit. So when you put in a new heating system, you have to do a heat loss where you usually didn't have to do that before. So that's another, professional you have to engage with, more paperwork to be done. And that's after your floor plan. So it also adds time onto your soft cost acquisition and planning part of it as well. So just keep an eye out, watch our next couple of videos. We're going to dive into it a bit more and we'll go from there. Again, we're MCIS. That's our building company from the development side. We are licensed realtors. We are end-to-end shop. We provide everything from second suite conversions, triplex conversions, multifamily conversions, lot severances, infills, everything you could ever want to do in real estate. Give us a call. We're doing it in Simcoe County. We're more than happy to help you out.
That's awesome, Colby. Thank you so much again for coming on the channel for today's market update and deep dive into Barrie and Orillia. You always bring the heat, man. You always bring fantastic updates. And it was really cool to see some of the insights today in the data. And again, this is where I always encourage people, work with professionals, work with great power team members, right? Colby's one of those power team members. You need somebody like that on your team who's doing this homework for you, right? You don't have time to be doing all this homework while you're actively participating in the projects you already have on the go. And that's why we have people like Colby on the channel, but also for your power team, right? You need to work with professionals who are understanding these things and staying up on all of them. Because to his point, if you just bought a property right now, you just locked one up, well, guess what? It's 2024 by the time you're closing and getting those floor plans done. And so if you're not already tracking this stuff, that's a big miss, because you might be finding yourself in a spot where you need a lot more capital or a lot more time to finish these projects. So thanks again, Colby. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys stay subscribed so that we can catch you up on all these updates as Colby and the team really dig through that building code, and we'll do updates for you guys. Again, this channel is all about real people doing real things. Colby's one of those guys. So Colby,
always a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
Wicked.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next month.
Chat soon. Bye.